Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Keith. Thank you for watching. So today I'm going to go down a list of 5 things you could do on your acoustic guitar to help you improve your playing. So let's just go ahead and get started. Number 1, palm muting. So whenever I first started playing guitar, I had an acoustic, and your first instinct once you get a few chords down in your book is to just wail at it, right? You know, we'll just go from a G to a C, right? And that sounds all fine and dandy, you're in front of the campfire and all that kind of good stuff, but it gets pretty tiring after a while. So you're going to want to integrate a little bit of muting into it, and I'll show you exactly how that could change your sound. So to get my point across with palm muting, I'm going to go through a Neil Young song. Yeah, I know, I love Neil Young, but I think this is the perfect song to kind of illustrate this. So this is Look Out for My Love by Neil Young, and the chords are E, D, A, G. Right? So if I play those in sequence the way I hear it on the album, it will sound something like this. And this is without palm muting. But while that sounds good, that can get tiring over the course of the song, and there's ways to make it sound better, and that all relies right here on that part of your hand to mute some of the strings while you're strumming. You gotta remember, you don't need to play every single string on every single chord to get the sound that you want. So a little bit goes a long way, so we'll see how it sounds, and you could be the judge. Let me know in the comments. So this is without the palm muting first, and then adding it, right? So right off the bat, you can tell the difference. It's a little more dynamic, and it allows more room to breathe for when you're trying to sing. And I'm talking about dynamics, which brings me to number 2. We're going to talk about dynamics. Now, there's nothing more fun when you're playing live than being able to literally move an audience. And how do you accomplish that in a live setting? One way to do that is to weave in some of these dynamics. You get a little low during some spots and play a little softer, and then you're going to play a little louder in other spots, and you're going to emphasize certain things. Now, to illustrate that, I'm going to show you a song that I wrote. I'm just going to play the chords here, and it's going to actually integrate some of that palm muting we said in number 1, and you'll see what I'm talking about here. This might be about 30 seconds or so, but let's get along with this and see how it sounds, right? So whenever I played that song live, when I went into that little pre-chorus and then jumped up with that G chord, you can see people just move back like, whoa, and then, you know, you see them moving along. It's a fun feeling. It's a great feeling. So, alright, so these next 2 are more gear-oriented, right? So we're going to be talking about guitar picks for number 3. So one thing you do have to consider when you're picking up and learning how to guitar is what kind of guitar pick suits you best. So what I use typically is this Dunlop Tortex for both electric and acoustic playing. It's a little bit thicker than the other pick I'm going to show you, but in the overall grand scheme of things, it's really not considered to be a super thick pick, but it's just the right thickness for what I need when I'm playing the acoustic guitar, or the electric for that matter. But the reason I'm saying that is that I do have my thinnest pick here, and you could definitely hear the difference between the two. The thin pick is going to sound exactly that way. A little more thinner, a little more plinky or plunky, or however you want to put it. So what I'll do to kind of illustrate that, as a matter of fact, I think I have a video. I'll put it up here. If you watch that video, then thank you for watching a video about guitar picks. But I'll play a G chord to a C to a D with this, and then I'll switch out to the thicker one. Ready? Now we're moving on to the thicker one. So right off the bat, you could tell there's a more full sound when you're using a thicker pick with the acoustic guitar. You're just gonna have to adjust the way you hold it so you don't let it fly off of your hands and onto the floor, just like that. So number four. Number four is your guitar string. Now when it comes to acoustic guitars, the strings matter way more than you might think. The thickness does matter, because the way the acoustic guitar works is you are getting a lot of your sound based off of the top of the guitar. This tone wood, as they call it. This right here is a mahogany guitar. It's going to give you a different kind of sound or feel than a normal spruce top guitar like the other one behind me. But in any case, you want to get this top part that produces the bulk of the tone of the guitar as quote-unquote driven as possible. And how do you do that? The thicker the strings, the more you're going to drive the top. So you don't want to go overboard with this. All the Martins come with 13 gauge strings on them right out of the factory, for all their dreadnought guitars at least. So what I like to do is stick with the factory spec, and I stick with the 13s on here. I used to roll with 12s on there. Those are considered, I think, light gauge, and medium gauge would be the 13, which is what they ship, but that's still kind of on a thicker end, because when you think about it, when you're playing on an electric guitar, you're going to be playing with 9s or maybe 10s, sometimes 11s, depending on what you like. But the point of the whole thing is, I would say if you have a dreadnought style guitar, you want to drive the top here with a thicker gauge string, which I would say would be the medium 13s. If you tried putting on anything lighter than a 12 gauge, let's say you drop down to an 11 or 10 because it's a little too rough on your fingers, you're not doing the guitar any justice, and you're not doing yourself any justice by doing that. It's not going to sound as good, trust me. Alright, so finally, the fifth and final thing would be finger picking. Now, this is going to actually kind of correspond with some of the dynamic things that I talked about in one of the previous points that I have here, but when you are able to use your fingers and multiples of them, you can get some pretty beautiful sounds. And I would like you to try this too. We're going to go to a C to an A and just finger pick, just as an exercise, right? We're going to do something like this. Now that was a little fast, but it's more of a practice thing that I do, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So you're going to be using your thumb and these two fingers, your index and your middle finger, at least for this exercise, and you could add more as you go, but for the purpose of this, we're going to do this C chord, and we're going to hit the bass notes with our thumb, right? And then use our index and middle fingers to strum the B or the G and the B strings, right? And we're going to be plucking along on that D string to get that bass note. It's kind of like a walking bass line. While we're on that whole practicing thing, you could even incorporate some of those triads. It might sound a little thin, but as a background type of thing, if you're layering on tracks, it might sound nice. So if I'm going to go from a G to a D to a C, it'll sound something like this. I'll play it kind of slow here. Now, a couple other really good songs to practice fingerpicking are a couple Eric Clapton songs. Some of his later stuff that he did in the 90s and early 2000s. One of them I have a video for right here. It's called Broken Hearted by Eric Clapton. It's all fingerpicked. And another really popular one, which I guarantee you're going to find tons of videos on how to play it, is Tears in Heaven. And yet another song that he has off of that same album, Unplugged, is Sign, which I have a video up here. I don't have a tutorial on how to play it, but that's another good song to practice as well. In any case, I hope that was helpful for you, and if you like what you saw here, please subscribe. I do come out with quite a few short videos teaching different techniques and guitar theory. So if you haven't subscribed, if you don't like these long form videos, I get it. It's fine. We don't all have time to sit down and watch a video, but the shorts might be a little bit helpful to you. So please subscribe if you find them helpful at all. So with that said, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.